Welcome back to the studio. I just wanted to say I thank you for watching my YouTube videos. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your comments and just your encouragement and your support. It really means a lot to me. So thank you so very, very much. I'm continuing work on this Texas springtime painting, my field of wildflowers. I'm now working on some Burgundy Prickly Poppies, and they're going to be mixes of alizarin crimson plus some magenta plus white, and then also then I've got a mixture of cadmium red deep plus alizarin crimson and a little bit of white. So I just begin blocking up these big, really pretty flowers. They're almost a crepe paper texture, and they're pretty big. You see a lot of the white prickly poppies, but not many of the burgundy. And one year, Jack and I were out, it was 2010, and we had an absolutely incredible wildflower year that year. It rained, all the conditions were right, and it was just spectacular. And we came across some of these Burgundy Prickly Poppies. We didn't even know what they were. And so it was just super exciting. They're just a beautiful, beautiful color. And so it's fun to include them occasionally in some of my springtime paintings. I'm using a bright brush. This is a square-ended brush, and you can see I can make broad brush strokes with it, or I can use the corner to make finer brush strokes. It's a very versatile brush. Once I discovered these, I pretty well gave up on all the other shaped brushes, the filberts and the rounds. They do make a flat brush that is also square end, but the bristles are a lot longer. They're probably this much longer, and it's just, to me, it's just too flexible, too long. So this bright is really the brush I prefer. And actually I have a blog that I've written on the brushes that I like to use. If you go to my blog, the link is in the description below. If you'll go to the search and just put in brushes, you'll go right to that post on the brushes that I like to use. I'm also using my reference material. Now, the prickly poppies that I'm using in my reference material are white, but the burgundy ones are exactly the same. They're just the flowers are a different color. It's like red roses and white roses are. The bush is all the same, and the flower shapes are all the same. It's just they're different colors. So I get my flowers blocked in first. Now I'm going to have some pink phlox in here, and then blue bonnets in here. But these prickly poppies are just a nice dark burgundy red. It goes in here, and they grow in between the fence posts. It's a pretty big clump of them. There's some in front of this post and back through. Some of that burgundy in here. And you can see I can use that edge of the brush to actually make a straight line following that fence post. Just holding it sideways. Now I'm going to start putting in the leaves. The leaves are a warm green made of ultramarine blue plus cadmium yellow medium plus a little bit of lemon yellow, just to add a little bit of a pop to it. And then this is some phthalo blue plus liquid. And now I'm going to have blue bonnet flowers in here. They're spiky, so I'm leaving kind of those shapes in here. And then my phlox will be in there behind the prickly poppies, between the prickly poppies. Well, actually, I guess they're going to be in front. I don't know. I'll decide that when I paint them. They're in front or in back of. these leaves come down. Now my light is not quite light enough, so I'm going to have that same mixture, and I'm going to add just a little bit more white to it for my leaves that are getting hit by the sunlight. Sunlight's coming into the painting from the upper left, so the leaves on the left side of my poppies will be lighter. You can see again how I use the corner of that brush to make the smaller brush strokes. And those poppies are going to go behind, or yeah, these are also poppies. These are California poppies, and I have some of that color saved. This was cadmium orange plus alizarin crimson, and so I've got some of that color saved, and that goes back. Those are in behind, yeah, and then the phlox will be clumped up here in between these two rocks, so that's how that's going to go. And that the California poppies accent the leaves. That deep burnt orange just accents those green leaves. And then this dark, this will be, foliage will be darker here because it's not getting as much sun. I just work around the shape of the flowers, or around the mass of color of flowers. I paint the flowers first so that as I'm painting the green leaves, it keeps the color of the flowers clean. If you'll notice, let me do this. As I paint the green, see how my brush picks up some of that red? Now if I had painted the green first and then tried to paint the red flowers, my brush would pick up the green and into the red, and it would make the color muddy. So this, by painting the red first, I keep that color nice and crisp and clean, because I want my flowers to be nice and that color to be crisp. And if I pick up a little, get a little of the red into the green, it really doesn't matter. It'll just mute the greens a little bit, so I don't mind if that gets muted, but I don't want my red flowers to be muted. And this is a mixture of phthalo blue plus white. Just brings a little coolness into the foliage. I make this pretty textured. I like to get the feeling, actual feeling of the texture of leaves. When that paint's dry, you could actually run your hand over it and feel the leaves. Almost sculpting with paint. It's not real thick, but it keeps it, gives a nice texture to it. Get my canvas covered with the greens and the reds. Now I'm going to come back. Now I will paint some of these flower petals over the green. I have to be very, very careful. I get a pretty good amount of paint on my brush, and I just lay the paint on top of the green so that I don't pick up any of that green on my brush. And I keep wiping my brush to keep it clean. I'm not going to do all the flowers because it takes too long, but I will show you how then I finish out these individual flowers. Finish this flower here. And again, these poppies are pretty big. They're much bigger than the California poppies over here. take a smaller brush. This is a mixture of alizarin crimson plus magenta plus liquid. The liquid thins it out, and then I add a dark center into this. Each of the flowers. Just put in a little petal right there. And I'll do this one here. Now, then within that, then they have a yellow center that's almost like a little pom-pom in there. Need a little bit bigger brush. Now this is a brush that's not one of the bright square-ended brushes. This is called a filbert. It has more of an oval end, and so I do use different brushes on occasion. And then I take, this is cadmium yellow medium, and I just make those yellow centers. Again, I have to be very careful to take, I take a pretty thick glob of paint, and I can just lay it on top of that other color. Sometimes it doesn't want to stick. Just very, sometimes you have to work it a little bit. And these centers aren't exactly, you know, round. It doesn't matter if they're not exactly round, because they're not that way in nature. This needs to be a little bit bigger. That's how I add the centers to these. And I can go back and I want to make a little bit more dark around the center. So that's how I paint the big prickly poppies, and then there'll be a little stem coming down. So I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Please visit my blog. You'll see the entire step-by-step process of this painting, and that link will take you to the very first post for this painting. It shows how I prepared the canvas to paint it in a gallery wrap style. And then you can go up to the upper right corner, and there's a little title there. You can click on that and go to the next blog. If you want to go backwards, you just go to the title in the upper left corner. So go to the link below and you can visit my blog. Thank you again, and you just have a wonderful, wonderful day.